The Los Angeles Police Department has led the way in policing for nearly 80 years. The first to set up an academy to train officers, the first to establish a SWAT team, and the first to promote marksmanship on the street and in competition. And part of that is the annual Top Gun match on the historic Academy Ranges. No question, this is a gun match with 30 teams of 4 competing for prizes and bragging rights. But it's not often we find a competitive shooting event within sight of downtown Los Angeles. That's because this is the annual LAPD Top Gun match being held on the Los Angeles Police Academy Ranges. And shooting here in a canyon that's part of Elysian Park has been going on for more than 80 years. There is tradition and history here for generations of cops. The history on this property is unbelievable. An example, there's the bronze bust memorializing Chief Darrell F. Gates, a controversial chief of police from 1978 to 1992, but beloved by the men who served under him before his death in 2010. But behind me, the building with the arches was built with contributions from the citizens of Los Angeles as a shooting venue for the 1932 Olympics. They shot small-bore rifle and small-bore pistol in 1932. Bob Barnes wasn't here in 1930, but he knows the history of how this started.
At the time, the original Los Angeles Police pistol team somehow got a lease on the land, and so they had a place to shoot. Now, this was all when this was just woods. Dodger Stadium wasn't here, or any of that stuff. So when they wanted to have the Olympics here, they said, we need a place to shoot. And they said, well, they have this little pistol range. And then the policemen, being good policemen, thought, I don't know, we're going to build. Next thing you know, they got this built. This lower portion here was the rapid fire range, 25-yard range. And then the upper deck there was a table across, it's still there, parts of it. And that was the 50-yard slow fire range. And this big wall wasn't here. The 50-yard targets, there's a tunnel underneath, would pop up there. So slow fire was conducted off the top and rapid fire off the bottom.
And then came the Academy, the first in the country to teach police tactics and procedure.
Then they decided to start having an academy somewhere back in the...
About the same time.
Same time, and so got to have a range to have an academy. And so it just kind of grew in little... This why it kind of looks piecemeal. That's what it is. You know, this building one year, that building the next.
Forward! March!
The land was controlled by the Los Angeles Police Revolver and Athletic Club, LAPRAC for short. They leased the land to the department for $1 a year. The first facilities were built with private money and grants and included a pool for officers and families, a memorial rock garden with waterfall. An officer's daughter was to be married here the next night. There's a small memorial chapel tucked high in the trees where police chaplain Father Michael McCullough can provide counsel to officers. There's a tennis court, workout facilities, and an athletic field with running track. And there's a restaurant and bar with liquor license now named for the late Chief Darrell Gates. Many of the facilities are donated as memorials to officers lost in the line of duty. And some have new memorial names. Hogan's Alley, built for training the nation's first SWAT team in the 70s, now has a new name, Micah's Range, named for the longtime tactical instructor, the late Sergeant Frank Micah. But 2 of the buildings were thank you gifts from Badge 714.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Detective Sergeant Joe Friday, Jack Webb's authentic, Just the Facts character from Dragnet.
Who covered the body?
Woman out there in the front room.
You let us know when you pull the slugs, Bob.
Right, Cannon.
All right, Ed. Besides the usual shots, I want 2 lateral, 2 vertical, and 1 head down, and in color.
Okay, sir.
Webb donated a classroom in 1970 during the second run of Dragnet, now in color and produced by his Mark 7 production company. In 1977, he donated a much more substantial building, to this day called the Mark 7 building, though most of Officers don't know the origin of the name. And there have been other Hollywood connections to this place. Charlie's Angels always opened with a shot of the historic stone gates to the academy.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little girls who went to the police academy.
There's no question we're in historic surroundings for this Top Gun match, with a department that has always valued marksmanship and the traditions that began here more than 80 years ago.
And they were assigned very hazardous duties.
I'm afraid it says something about how old we're getting when Charlie's Angels is now part of the history of the historic academy. But coming up, the Top Gun match for bragging rights with familiar police challenges and some, not so much. This is custom gun making, hand fitting slide to frame, hand cutting the mag well, blending the surfaces of the slide, the frame, and the beaver tail. At every step, a Les Baer Custom 1911 is hand fitted to tolerances no CNC machine can match for match grade accuracy. And a Les Baer Custom 1911 is priced at 1/3 of what you'd pay any other gun maker. See all the 1911s and rifles at lesbaer.com. The annual LAPD Top Gun match, hosted by LAPRAC, the Los Angeles Police Revolver and Athletic Club, is competition for teams of 4 representing the many divisions of the department. It is mostly about having a fun day, but if a bit of training is also involved, that's okay too. There are 4 stages of fire for the teams to shoot, with their team scores compared for ranking in prizes and bragging rights. And 2 of the stages are quite familiar to them.
Everybody set. 2 rounds, 2 seconds. On the left, target first.
This is the qualification range that every officer shoots every 2 months to stay qualified on the street with their choice of pistol and their duty gear holster. This is a duty gear match. This stage is shot with turning targets and mandatory magazine changes in tight time limits.
Assess and tactically reload.
And with a barricade stage of fire at the greatest distance. The challenge will remind you of Bianchi Cup shooting. And there's good reason for that. John Bianchi was an LAPD officer before creating his holster company and the original police-only Bianchi competition.
Unload and holster.
Then there's the bonus range with turning targets and the 40-round course of fire on the lower level of the one-time Olympic pistol range. It's an LAPD tradition to encourage marksmanship with bonus money. An officer who shoots sharpshooter, expert, or master class earns a bonus in each paycheck. But for the Top Gun match, it's the team score that counts. And the one ladies team is feeling something of the pressure to do well against all the guys.
We are, sir. We are feeling the pressure.
Now, it does say Top Gun on your shirt, so
yes.
How's this going to come out?
Well, we've done a lot of practice. We have a fantastic sergeant leading us, and like she said earlier, our captain's definitely motivating us. So we've had some individual practice sessions and just to stay motivated and on top.
Armorer and instructor Bob Barnes has run the bonus range for years. To do well, it takes pistol fundamentals.
This course is all about trigger press and watching your sights. Now, the combat course is more about speed. This course has some fast phases in it, but to score well here, you've got to watch your front sight to press your trigger correctly.
And that is the next team challenge on the range known for years as Hogan's Alley, that now has a new name honoring longtime instructor, the late Sergeant Frank Micah. And the team you're watching is working on the best score here. They're from Metro Division, with each man handling a different challenge on Micah's range. Familiar cop training with familiar firearms.
So everything here isn't out in the open. For example, they have to move left and right here. We put up hostages on this target. I've got weapon systems they use out in the field, such as rifles.
So this is real police work with a few twists.
With a few twists. I'm trying to get them to get a little out of their comfort zone, to push their limitations in their shooting, in their reloading, and in their communication skills.
All of the stages we've seen are pretty much standard police training and tactics and familiar to these officers, especially for the team from LAPD SWAT. They would normally be stacking up and entering a single door as a team. But this time they're handling separate challenges all at once for all the scenarios on Micah's range.
This is your line of work, right?
Yes, it is.
That was a very fast run. How did you do?
You know what, I did look at all the targets, and I really don't know how the other competitors are doing, so I'm not going to be audacious and give you an opinion.
You're the guys, if you're at my front door, I'm in a lot of trouble, right?
There's some certain criteria for us to deploy, yes.
Go.
But all the police familiarity goes out the window on the fourth stage that starts shooting slingshot tennis balls to clear the ports to shoot clays with their service pistols. Racing with tennis balls is not part of life on the street.
No, it's not.
Sending tennis balls down, right?
Absolutely not.
So how does that feel? Does that get you out of your normal comfort zone?
Well, yeah, it throws you off. It's something you're not ready for, you don't prepare for, and you don't do it very often, or at least I don't.
Oh wait, this stage ends shooting single action .22 revolvers, something else not on the police training schedule. Just what Range Officer Jim Schrey intended for this challenge.
Well, we shoot pistols and rifles and shotguns all day long, so I thought we'd kind of mix it up a little bit and something that they're not used to. And it kind of throws them off their game while they're shooting their handgun, so it kind of rattles them a little bit.
So, and what's the reaction so far?
It's mixed. It's amazing how many people have never really fired a slingshot before.
So I came for a gun match and a tennis ball game broke out.
Exactly.
But there are some officers who are game and get hits with tennis balls, like Jerry Wirt from Hollywood Division Patrol.
Do you have any experience shooting tennis balls?
Well, I have experience with wrist rockets from being a kid. It's like a wrist rocket style thing, but I with the tennis ball, I've never done that before.
Well, everybody has now in the LAPD Top Gun match in a bit of training and a lot of fun, as intended.
The intent is for good training and good fun. It's not really as intense as it needs to be. We're here to have a good time, and then some training comes as a result of that. And at the end, prizes are won.
Prizes and plaques for the top team in the open division. And the match winners, the Metro team, taking top honors with 1 armorer, 2 dog handlers, and 1 member of SWAT, beating the all-SWAT team for their year of bragging rights.
The divisions have bragging rights. They get to brag against the other patrol divisions and elite divisions against each other. And again, they drop the gauntlet the next year again to come back.
The Top Gun match, a little training and a lot of fun for the officers of the department that has always promoted marksmanship. And coming next,